Alright, folks, welcome along to our episode of the Made the Parade podcast. You're joining us on season number 6 and episode number 9. And I am delighted to be joined by Nathan Saunders tonight from the North Down Defenders. I hope I've got that right. So, we're going to bring Nathan in now and we're going to have a chat with him about his Made the Parade story. So, here we go. Give me one wee second. Nathan, good to have you on the podcast, mate. Thanks for taking the time out.
Yes, no problem. Pleasure to be here, Graham.
Brilliant stuff. Well, Nathan, maybe just be a good place to start like I always do on the podcast. Tell me a bit about how you ended up getting involved in a band in the first place.
So, I probably would have been around 5 or 6. My stepdad, he was actually in the Orange Volunteers flute band back in the 90s. Belfast. He was a band captain, so I was seeing him playing the flute quite a lot in the house. You know, this was at this age, this was something kind of relatively new to me. I was seeing him playing the flute in the house, and you know, he was driving the bands on the weekends and doing the first and the 12th, and it was something I was busting to get involved with. So I remember just doing his head in over and over again. Get me a uniform. I'll do the band pole. I was out the front garden throwing the band pole up, and you know, every day I was torching him. So he got me a uniform. I can actually remember like my first parade might have been East Belfast, 1st of July. So
right.
I remember walking around and thinking to myself, these bands men do have some feet on them. So they do. Being another, you know, you see them walking all the time and they make it look easy. So they did back then. And yeah, for 1st of July, East Belfast would have been my first band parade. And I remember just from then on, and that was it. I was hooked on the bands. So I was.
Okay, and no worries. And obviously, you said you started just doing band pole and stuff like that. There, when did you progress on to like an instrument?
It was actually whenever my dad had actually come out of the band. So the band had folded. So it had around, I think it was around the early 2000s. And so he had a flute and a whistle laying around, and to me that was the golden ticket. He's not using it anymore. He's hung the boots up for the band. His days was over, and that was another thing I tortured him for. The thing was laying in the cupboard, and I felt like it was kind of sentimental to him. You know, his day band, but you know all the memories that he had with everybody. I felt like the flute was kind of a sentimental thing he had tucked away. I would always remember him cleaning it religiously, and he actually finally let me play it one day. So he did, and he had sat with got me the scales and stuff. And once I went over the scale, I think I was back from school every single day for at least 2 hours in front of the computer, just learning notes. There's a guy called Accordion Stu on YouTube years ago. And he used to put up notes, and this was the best thing ever for me because I wasn't in a band at this time. I was just learning, and this was the only place available for me to be able to go on and get notes and just learn absolutely everything that was available at my fingertips. And I got that bad that we had in my household growing up. We had to put on a December band on the flute,
right,
on music, because my mum and dad were absolutely fed up of it. So they were. So during July. Or during the December month, we all had to come to an agreement that no bands, no flutes, no nothing in the house come December. So that's whenever I used to compromise and I started learning Christmas songs on the flute. So that went down like a lead balloon. But from then on, as soon as I learned the scale, I think I maybe learned the scale in a couple of days. And the notes and the tunes just came so naturally to me, and it was just every tune I heard. If I ever heard a tune that was brand new to me, I was just obsessed with learning how to play it. So I was
brilliant, good stuff. We actually had Stu on the podcast. So had one of our audio only episodes. Stu was on. Stu used to be a member of the Pride of Down before he moved away to England and stuff. So was great getting a chat with him, and he's a good guy. So happy days. Yeah. So you obviously then you were part of a band initially that then folded. You then pick up the flute, and you obviously you were learning at home. What band did you join after that? Then where did you go to next in terms of?
It was actually a bit of a surprise where I went next. I had a wee bit of a break from bands, so I did in between that. So I kind of had a bit of a break. I was still learning in between, but I think it was maybe once I turned maybe 12, 13, I'd convinced my mum and dad to let me join a band where I could go out on my own and they're not having to chaperone me every week. And so they let me actually let me join an accordion band in East Belfast, Lord Carson accordion band.
All right, okay.
There was a guy called Billy Glover, used to run that wee band, and he took a friend of me and a friend. He took me and him under his wing and basically showed us the band scene. How he seen it through his eyes, culturally, musically, and from then on, I spent maybe about four years with them guys, and some of the laughs, we bands they got, you can kind of go out, and you can just they're tight knit. You can go out and you can have a laugh with them, and everybody knows each other. There's no cliques. It was just amazing times with them guys. What was all I wanted to do was walk the streets of Ulster and have a laugh and enjoy their culture. So I was a good first band for me to come into and actually start discovering more about my heritage, my history, community, things like that. There, it was brilliant.
Brilliant. What did you do in the Parkinson then? Don't tell me you learned how to play an accordion, like.
Oh no, the Lord Carson. It was I went down there to play the drum originally, so it did.
Right.
I was only about 12, 13. When I first wanted to go down, I thought, I could maybe try and play the bass drum, brag my way on the bass drum. But I think once I walked in, I seen the head of me, they realise you don't realise how small you are back then. But no, I went down and learned how to play the drum, and every Monday night band practice, never missed a band practice, never missed a parade, and that was me for years. It was brilliant. So that was my stepping stone, my proper stepping stone from the start of my adult life, young adult life, and the bands.
Dead on. And obviously you already talked there about having some good experience. Does anything in particular stand out for you during your time with the Lord Carson?
One of the Easter Monday parades was done. I remember actually going. It was Larne. Must have been maybe 15, 16 years ago now. We'd done Larne, and that was the first time I'd really got a feel for the the impact of a band scene. Because in between my wee break between bands, I got sort of drifted away from bands for a bit, and then came back to it. So it started to see whenever we went down to Larne, we were like, whoa, bands actually are massive all over the country, not just inside East Belfast. And went down to Larne, and it was, I think, near the end of the day, we went back to East Belfast, and we had bands from Larne, from all over the show, from Scotland, East Belfast, North Belfast, all converged back into a wee bar in East Belfast, and for the rest of the night, everyone was just playing tunes, having a laugh, and just the whole place was just rocking. And that's what kind of does it for me for the band scene, just that kind of togetherness. That's what I drive on my band at the minute now. We're just bringing everybody forward, making sure it's not just about music, getting out on their own, like that. So we'll do.
Okay. And then talk to me a wee bit about the whole process of learning to play a drum then and the Lord Carson. I mean, how did that all, obviously you'd learn how to play a flute, so you'd pick something else up in order to be a part of this band. What was the learning process like? Who drew alongside you, and how did they teach you and all that?
Chopsticks, and anything I could get my hands on, I was drumming with. I had one of my cousins was in East Belfast Protestant Boys when he was a kid, and when we were in school, we would have sat beside each other in school, and would have had pencils, pens, rulers, you name it, and would have been going over different things on the drum. He showed me how to do fives and everything else, and would have sat and done that religiously. Took it in the band practice, and just continued on me up. But it was just always something that came naturally to me.
Right, okay. So you have a natural kind of sense of music and rhythm and stuff then?
Yeah.
Brilliant. Happy days. Good stuff. So, in terms of obviously, you spent about sort of what 4 years with the Lord Carson or so, was it?
Yeah, about 4 years, about 4 or 5 years. Yeah, yeah.
All right, and then so what happened then at the end of those 4 years? Obviously, you went somewhere else then after that. What was going on in terms of the sort of made you go? I think I need to move into a flute band or whatever. What was going on there?
So we would have had we'd have been coming back from band practice every Monday night in East Belfast. My mother lived in Natlacombe, so we would have been getting the bus back then. And there was always a lot of lads from the north down to Fenders. They were always every Monday night religiously at the bus stop. We were waiting on their bus down to band practice, and we would have been getting off our bus at the same time. And every week it would have been when are you coming down, when torturing us to come down. And
Uh-huh.
I think after about 4 or 5 years of being in the Lord Carson and stuff, I just fancied a wee change. The Blood and Thunder was starting to, the noise and the Blood and Thunder was starting to attack me over a wee bit. So it was, and I think originally actually went down there to play the drum in North Down of Fenders. So I did, and down to play the drum, and I was maybe 2 weeks in, where the band was struggling a wee bit at the time. So one of the founder members had asked in the room, can anybody play the flute? And I kind of wanted a wee bit of a break from the flute. So I thought to myself, I'll show off I can play anything, so I can't put my hand up. They need you on the flute this weekend. And from then on, that was me. Because that was my position in the band as a fluter. So I was picked up the notes and I picked up the flute. And I think the band captain at the time was a fellow Brian Shaw, one of the founding members of the band. And he had handed me a flute and a book of notes, a folder of notes on the first night. And I think maybe by the next week, I came back and I knew every single one of them. Just sat in the house all day, throughout the week, just learning everything. And came back next week, and all I could think about was getting out on the road. It's just my main goal, tunnel vision for weeks, just getting out on the road.
Okay, so you obviously sent whoever was living in the house, you sent them spur with the way you were practicing then.
Yeah, I don't think my dad. I think my dad had heard enough of the bands over the years, and
Right.
But I got that turning point. I got that turning point where I stopped being so bad at the flute that I think he was starting to get a wee bit glad that he wasn't listening to squeaks and all sorts from the top of the stairs for 12 hours. I got better as time went on.
No, it is. It's crazy when you start to learn at times. I know I can understand where you're coming from in regards to the whole idea of, I mean, being obsessed with learning tunes and trying to get out on the road. Because I know that's when I talk to a lot of people. That's their all their experiences is that that they couldn't wait to get out. I wanted to get everything down. I wanted to make sure that I knew everything. Back in those days, then, how many tunes was the band carrying? How many did you need to be learning to be out on the road?
Well, I think at the time, whenever I first joined the band, it was 30 tunes. 30 tunes we had. I don't know if it was 30 tunes minimum or 30 tunes overall we had, but I remember 30 tunes. And I think the first night of band practice, we've learning the flute over the years with my dad and stuff. I was kind of half prepared going down, so I was able to learn, put that in. I already had a wee bit of a head start. So 30 tunes, and I think I maybe knew maybe 20 of them. They were traditional, traditional tunes. They were never not anything special to me at the time. I already knew them all. But my main aim, it was just get these learned out on the road. And I remember, I think it was West Belfast Volunteers, flute band from years ago.
Right.
And I think I maybe made up on our first one, and done 2 parades in one day, and I one of the best friends in my life. So I was never forget that day.
I know. Brilliant. No, because I remember whenever I was growing up, I was like, whenever I found out the band that I was in practice twice a week, I was like, when I get to do this twice a week, was great. We practiced on a Thursday on to Sunday, and I was like, this is mad. But, I used to look forward to the weekends all the time whenever I first started, because you'd have been out on a Friday night all day Saturday, and then you'd practice on a Sunday again. It was just, I lived for Thursday to Sunday. It was the best part of the week, and then the rest of it was like depression because you couldn't wait to get to Thursday again, and get back to the band. So that was your first play with those guys. And how did you find making the switch from the accordion band, back to the flute band. Obviously, you had some friends and stuff there who were part of North Down. But do you have any issues kind of fitting in, or did the band do anything specific to make you feel part of things?
Well, I kind of knew a few guys from the band, and I was kind of blessed from at first joining the band, because I had one of my long term childhood friends that had joined my first band with me. We'd stayed in that band together, and then we'd both made the switch together to do the North Down Defenders. So it was kind of a blessing having, being able to share all those experiences with your mate as you're going along, or new experiences as you're growing up. And that was it. Me and him were together, we were a wee bit too wild cards, so we didn't really have any trouble. But then we're down our Monday night, torturing everybody, have everybody's heads melted, new tunes where we're coming down with new ideas. What do you think? Yes, what do you think? Yeah, and like, calm down, they're in the ball a few weeks, But we're just two teenagers just itching to get off a lane and just get going. So
Brilliant. And it is kind of, when you have that enthusiasm, and sometimes, people are like kind of going calm down, like, oh, but I'm really into this, and it can, sometimes, if you feel like you're being put off, it doesn't sound like it put you off in any shape or form. Like.
No. I mean, we used to get a bus back from band practice, and even on the bus on the way home, it was just a Translink bus. Adam sat back at a bus, playing the flute. He had been playing the drum, and it was chaos when we had our instruments in front of us.
Okay. Dead on. So obviously, what age were we talking then when you joined North Down then?
North Down would have been, I think I'm in them guys now, maybe 14 years. I would have been about 14, maybe 13, 14 when I joined.
Right. Okay. Dead on.
It was there was a friend of members. There was Brian, one of the friend of members, Brian Shaw, Ronnie Shaw, and Davy Shaw, and them guys had just they were sitting around a table one night, and just decided they hadn't been in bands for years themselves, and the two of them had just decided to start up a wee band here, get everyone we can in, and them guys were some of the ones that really took me under my wing. So I mean, it was good to be able to have people down to band practice and just have everybody that's on the same wavelength, and even all the older generation of I've had experiences, where you have new blood, you have new members coming in, the new generation coming in, and with the new styles, new types of flute and new types of drumming and things like that, and people didn't like it. They were always open for suggestions, everything, it just made it so good to be able to come in a band, and everybody's able to have a bit of an opinion and say, what they think, what should sound good, or we all sit around as a group and decide how things are going to be. It's not just on band. So that was very good. That was very good to see whenever I first went down.
Yeah, no, it's one of those things that I've talked a few times about on the podcast, that about giving, especially giving young people a voice, a choice about things. Not a lot of people see that as a major thing, but I mean, I've said a few times on the podcast. I remember going to my first band meeting, and at 10 years of age, after becoming a full blower in the band, and being sat there and asked what my opinion was on something, and like looking around and going, what? I get to make a decision here. I'm part of it. Like, well, listen, you're a full member of the band. Doesn't matter what age you are. Everybody has a vote. Everybody has a say here, and your opinion is as valid as anybody else's. And I think from outside looking in, some people might not have that opinion of a band, or have any idea that that's how a band is actually run.
Yeah, 100%. We actually have a young fluter in our band at the minute, and 16 years of age he is right now, and I'm 28 now myself. And I don't think I've ever seen anybody play the flute the way this wee fella plays the flute. 16 years of age, and he's like last season. I think he helped me with everything when it came to tunes. He was there helping me with tunes. Getting everybody ready. Different ideas, just everything. He was learning absolutely everything we put in front of him. But I actually made the decision at the start of last year to make him a vice band captain. So on the wee man absolutely grew under the role. Like, you know, all we need to do now is just find him a wee bit of a confidence for his voice in the band. The wee man's one of the, you know, next best footers I'm gonna see out there. Like, and it's good to see. Like, it's good just to give him a wee bit of empowerment and then let them go with it.
Yeah.
So there's nothing worse where you're in a room as a child whenever you were younger, and maybe somebody, you know, gives you a wee knock or something, and you're sitting back and you're like, oh, you know, you don't want to say anything from then on in. But no, it's one of the good things about our band. We'll always open for opinions and any age group.
And obviously, you've been in the band, what, 14 odd years now. You must have seen them progress a good bit. Obviously, you obviously have taken on you're in a leadership role in the band yourself and stuff. How would you say the band has progressed in the years that you've been there, from you first joining to where you are now?
I think one of the biggest things, one of the biggest changes that we had was maybe about 5-6 years back, maybe a bit longer, and we were carrying quite a lot of people that, you know, quite a lot of bands would get them. You carry a lot of people that want to do the 1st and the 12th of July, but you wouldn't really get them much any other time of the year. So I think one of the best things we had done was just completely cut the dead wood from the band and just keep the dedicated members, you know, the members that want to be there week in, week out, you know, that are interested in learning. And from when we made that decision, it's funny how it works actually, because from when we made that decision, we were never really looking for. We were looking, but you know, those types of members just started coming to us, you know, after we made that decision, which we were actually quite lucky. We had quite a lot of good footers coming in, and we've still got quite a lot of original band members there, and they're the backbone of the band, really. And you know, but yeah.
Okay, and was it just purely the whole idea of, you used the phrase there, dropping the dead wood? Was that because you were like kind of going, we need consistent numbers here, or was there anything else that was kind of motivating that decision?
Yeah, quite a lot of the founding members of the band, you know, they're just die-hard loyalists and also, I mean, they want to go out in the band, out in the weekend, put a uniform on, pick our flutes and drums up and parade. And whenever you've got dedicated members in there week in, week out, you know, putting their heart and their soul into progressing, and you have a few people there that would, you know, kind of hold your ransom for whenever you can't get out in the weekend or you can't play new tunes in a row. It was a wee bit disheartening. So it was, and then over the years, you could sort of see the numbers starting to slip, and the amount of parades we were doing each year was starting to go down. And actually, be honest with you, that lockdown was probably one of the best things that happened to us, because we had a chance to knuckle down and just focus in on everything that we were supposed to be able to do. With those dedicated members picked up after that this season. I'd say over the last season, 2 seasons, or we've came on absolute leaps and bounds, and it's just all it is dedication. It's just the same faces every week that are just absolutely loving it, and that's what spurs it every week.
Yeah, no, consistency is good, because obviously, as you're saying, if there's things that you want to do or things that you want to implement, then if you've got a consistent group of people, it's easier to kind of implement that. One of the other things you'd mentioned there was that you feel that the band's progressed from a playing perspective as well. How would you say that has actually happened? How do you know that your band's progressed from playing from when you first kind of got involved to where you are now?
I would say more discipline inside the hall more. I wouldn't say discipline, but everyone just taking it more serious. Whereas you get those weeks, you know, where everybody's just, you know, maybe you're coming near the end of the season, your parades are nearly done, you know, everyone's just, you know, they're waiting for the end of the season to get a wee break. But, you know, you can, inside the hall, you know, everyone has a laugh, everyone's able to have a joke whilst playing. There's a healthy balance now inside the hall where we're able to learn tunes and have the time of our lives in the hall at the same time, and it just makes it kind of just, sometimes you find if people's not enjoying it, you're kind of dragging through the season or dragging through the practice, whereas now everyone's just, you know, new tunes as well. There was me and the young vice captain we have too. We kind of find it every time. We'll keep the tunes rotating. We'll keep everyone challenged. We'll keep everybody, you know, going. It kind of kind of gives everybody a new buzz to be able to come down to the hall every week and do what they're supposed to be doing, really. And it's just more that focus on being able to take if somebody's struggling, take 5 minutes out of your time to pull them aside, give them a wee hand up, bring them up to scratch, bringing everybody around, making sure everybody's got everything they need, nobody's left behind, nobody's scared to give a wee text and say, listen, I'm struggling with this, I'm struggling with that. It's just being able to get those finer details a lot easier.
Yeah. Good, no, good stuff.
Oh, go ahead, sorry.
No, walk away there, sorry.
It was something actually that I think it was Colin Logan you had on a few weeks back. He was one of the guys. He was one of the guys that really lit the fire inside me when it came to bonds again. When it came to seeing him bring in traditional tunes, but put his own spin on them, and then the whole band just following suit. And it's a new style of like traditional, music, loyalist music, and that was something for me that just absolutely lit me up again when it came to bonds. And that's what we're not Ralph Cool, we're North Down, we'll try and have our own styles and stuff because they're amazing. But kind of take things from other people, what you've learned from other people, what you see other things people doing, and try and take that and go further ourselves with it.
Yeah, no, and the inspiration's great, in terms of, what Logie's done with Rob Cool is unbelievable, to be honest with you, in terms of, the respect that they have as a band, and just their playing ability as well, and they've turned into a wee army there, because for a wee while their numbers were down a wee bit, and then the last time I seen them there, they were sporting, I think that's the biggest I've ever seen the band there at the most recent parades. And then I seen on Facebook that they put up a post saying that they closed the books for joining the band, that they were at capacity for members and stuff, and fair play them, because they're one of the best one of the best bands on the road. Now I was going to say best wee bands, they're one of the best bands on the road, per se, you know what I mean? So I have a lot of time for Logan and Roth Cool and stuff. I do some work up there as well, and alongside Colin and things, so you'll never hear a bad word from me about Roth Cool, to be honest with you.
Yeah. See for me, seeing them close their books, I'm loyal as a dog to my band, so I'll never leave my band. But seeing them close the books, it's like watching J-Lo get married. You're never going to marry her, but your chance is gone. All wish them all the best in the future. So I do.
I'm not too sure Logie will be up for you referring to him as J-Lo there, because obviously his ass isn't as nice as J-Lo's, you know what I mean? So, not that I spent too much time looking at his ass, by the way, but, but no, all good. So, what's your role in the band today? Then, obviously, it sounds to me like you're the band captain.
We've been band captain. I've been band captain for maybe the last 6-7 years.
Right.
It was actually a surprise to me. So it was when it first came around. One of the founding members who had been the band captain from day one up until then, Brian Shaw, he band captain for years, and he'd left the band, so we had the band would had an AGM meeting maybe the next week. I just sat down and they talked. I remember hearing in the corner of my ear, just, we need a new band captain, and within maybe about 10 to 15 seconds, the whole hall had already elected me. So next thing I was like, right, you're band captain. I was looking around me going, happy days. But I didn't realise at the time what the role actually entailed, until it took me maybe about a year to get the hang of everything, and just being that kind of voice inside the room and being able to be heard. If you have good ideas and they're going to work, it's just kind of finding that there balance in the room and making sure everyone just.
Yeah.
I feel like I don't even need to learn them, because they're all such good footers. They'll learn themselves, but just keeping everyone together. I feel they make it so easy for me. The only thing I need to do is just keep them all together and keep them organised, and I'm blessed for that. So they don't make it hard at all.
Good stuff. And then for anybody who doesn't know, because we throw these terms around like band captain, vice band captain, lead tip, and all this kind of stuff. Well, what's a band captain's role in a band from your perspective? What do you think you're supposed to do?
So, what I am picked up over the years and picked off my dad and stuff, you know, I would sit with my face bar captain, and the two of us would go through, you know, tunes and, you know, tunes for next season, what we think we're going to do. We would sit with those ideas, work on them, try to make them our own, bring them into the band. And I think for me, I think my role in the band as band captain is keeping everybody organised, making sure they know when to be, they know where to be, when to be there, what uniform we're going to be wearing, and just making sure everyone's. Like I would give a wee ring round every week, and that they all have me tortured. They think my credit's going on right, but it's not going on right anytime soon. They want to be getting phone calls from. It's just basically keeping on top of everything, making sure everyone has everything that they need. Everybody's happy, you know. Everybody's learning. Nobody's falling behind. It's just trying my best to keep out the togetherness in the band whenever it needs.
Okay, and then obviously then you're calling tunes out on the road and stuff and all that kind of thing. So you kind of you play a pivotal role then whenever you're out on parade.
Yeah, that was one thing. I was another thing that I had to grow into. One of the first years of a band, it was I'd done a couple of new parades. You know, I didn't know there were blowouts, or I didn't know anything. And it was probably one of the worst years for luck that I've ever had blowing tunes. Every single time I called a tune, it was before a corner, and every time I took a corner, there was a band, and we are playing like a low tune, and I was sort of like something I had to like timing your calls on the road for blowouts and, you know, things like that. And, you know, even when we were past Memorial Gardens, just being aware of all things like that, and marching inside the ranks and making sure everybody's looking prim and proper. Doing everybody's collar raised, making sure their hats are fixed on properly and they're looking smart, and just, you know, keeping on top of it all.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's interesting. It's interesting you mentioned blowouts and stuff like that. They're obviously, for me, coming from a melody background, you know, blowouts aren't a thing, like, you know. And although plenty of bands have a go at us whenever we're walking past them, when I just find it, you know, that there's some of the bands, especially nowadays, it's a bugbear of mine, like, you know, and you'll have heard me talking about this. Blood and Thunder bands playing that dog whistle range these days. It's easy for melody bands to blow you out, like.
It's a big bass drum, big dong and a bass drums. Always.
Yeah, I know, and it's one of those things. I mean, styles go through, you know, so many different changes and stuff like that. But one of the things I've noticed is that some of the Blood and Thunder bands that are staying down the register rather than playing 100 high A's all the time, you know, have a more consistent sound, you know, and solid in their thing. Because the other thing is that if you're used playing Cliffy Rays and stuff, are you? Or
yeah,
Chrome flute. Yeah, because sometimes they kind of they're, unless you're in full control of those things, they can just go off and do whatever they want. Them flutes, because you can get some squeaks and stuff out of them, like, you know. Brilliant. So talk to me a bit about what you think. What's that?
The rain for the flutes. That's the worst time for it when it's lacing.
Definitely. I completely. So in terms of, you know, what would you say you've got out of being in a band? Obviously, I can hear some of the stuff that you're talking about in regards to, you know, it's obviously you've grown in confidence, you've grown in your own kind of skill level in terms of music and leadership skills and things like that there in terms of, you know, your role in the band. Without wanting to put words in your mouth, but, you know, what would you say are some of the positive things that you've got out of being a member of a band then?
For me personally, would be more a deeper knowledge of my culture, history, and, you know, community. For me growing up, I grew up around it. You were seeing them on murals and flags and, you know, parades every week, but they were always there. But on the back of your mind as a child, sometimes you don't really think about it. It was always something my dad was always, you know, if I ever dismissed anything as a young child, he was always quick to correct me and say, listen, you know, it's important that you remember these things. And three bands just doing different parades, you know, going all over the country for different reasons. You know, even watching other bands do the same thing, you know, for the likes of, for example, again, Rob could going to France, you know, seeing other bands doing that there. is
Uh-huh.
just it's something I would love to do with my band. So I would just I think
Uh-huh.
it's important for everybody just to have a realize why we're doing it, remember why we're doing it
Yeah.
for, why we're having the praise that we're having, and have the absolute utmost respect for it.
Yeah, no, I think you're right there. Ian. I think, and I know I've said this numerous times on it, that it's extremely important that we know our history and our heritage, knowing where the connections to things come from, because for me, it wasn't always the parade of the year for me, but it became the parade of the year for me once I realized what it was about was the 1st of July. Because initially you all lived for the 12th. It was like the 12th always seemed to be the biggest day of the year. But and for some people, obviously that is the case, given obviously the history going back to the Boyne and stuff. But for me, whenever I found out, what the 1st of July was all about, and realizing that, hey, listen, this isn't a mini 12th. This is a song commemoration prayer. Whenever I found out, the history behind that, and then not just that, but the connection to my own area, the reason that we stopped in East Belfast at the memorial at the top of the arches and stuff, and that the men of East Belfast that you were honouring by the walk and stuff, it started to take a very, very different slant for me. And, I found it even my behaviour changed, that it became, getting to the point where you were doing eyes right, or you were walking past the memorials and stuff, started to really mean something to me. And I think that it's something that you grow into, rather than something that you have at that early age. You've obviously found a similar thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I think it's what you were saying there now. When it becomes something else, it's just I think it's something similar for myself. It becomes more of a matter of pride. Whenever you're walking down the road and you realize what you're representing, you realize what you're there for. On the 1st of July, I always had to take a wee step back and realize that we're doing this on a scale that nowhere else in the world does the way we would do in East Belfast on the 1st of July. Remembering
Yeah.
our fallen heroes, from wars and onwards until the present day. I don't think
Uh-huh.
you have your memory, but I don't think that there's anywhere else in the world that does it to the scale, and that we would do it. And for me, that becomes a matter of pride. I become proud to be able to walk down the road. That's when you're able to, keep your chin up high and walk down the road, and you know what you're there for. There was nothing worse for me than hearing people shouting about King Billy on the 1st of July. It was always a pet peeve for me. That's not what you're here for celebrating. It's important always. It's all been for nothing if you don't remember.
Yeah, no, and I think that it's remembrance is an extremely, not just Remembrance Sunday, but remembrance as a whole is an extremely important aspect of, of what we do, in regards to, not just historical events in terms of, the impact that that's had on Northern Ireland in terms of other things that have happened here as well. But I think definitely, that connection with for me, especially with the 36th Ulster Division, is an extremely important one, in terms of the bravery that we show on the 1st of July at the Somme and throughout the whole of the First World War, and in ensuing conflicts after that and stuff. I think that once you make that connection, that you can't do it the same way you did before. It intrinsically changes you, and I always I try and pass that on to my own kids, even though my own kids aren't even involved in bonds, and that's a major issue for me. I would want them to be involved, but one of the things that they don't get away from is me sharing that history with them as to why I'm out doing the things that I'm doing. I think it's extremely important to make sure that they understand the why behind those things as well. And, and I think there's an area that bonds need to do that too. I think bonds need to really take that on board and, and spend some time with their younger members or whatever, or even their older members, because some older members don't have a clue either. And do some history, go to some places, bring some people in, find out about it, and make that connection, you know what I mean? So that's something I'm keen to do going forward with, whenever moving on from this type of podcast and moving into something else is something that, I'm looking into doing is how can we engage bonds and engage them with, with their history and stuff, So in terms of maybe having I don't know whether the 1st of July is your favourite parade, but where in terms of favourite parades does that sit for you?
That's up there. Anybody that knows me knows that that's my Christmas day. So it is. I don't
Right, okay.
forward to any other year, any day of the year. That's it. I have. Me and my mum were actually having a wee bit of a conversation the other week. She was wanting me to come up for a barbecue and do my thing on the 1st of July before the bonds. And it's one of the rare occasions where my dad chipped in to say no. He's right. I have my wee rituals on the 1st of July. So I like to get up early in the morning, go down, get my hair cut, out, get a fry, out round, see all my friends, maybe see some family on the way, back to the house, maybe have a few beers, uniform on, and then down the road. And it's nothing mad, it's nothing crazy. It's just a nice simple day where I have everything planned out. But that's just always been my 1st of July, and it's for me. That's a pinnacle for me. That's a pinnacle of my bond season. Will be the 1st of July.
Yeah. Any other periods stand out for you? Because I mean, obviously for me, yeah, I agree with you. For me, 1st of July is for me is the day of the year as well. But any other particular periods have special significance for you?
Mainly the first. Mainly be the 1st of July. Other than that, I walk anywhere, everywhere and anywhere. So with any bond really,
Sure.
I just man the beard every week. But the 1st of July would be my main one. So what is
Right.
the only
No
one?
worries. Yeah.
Absolutely.
One of the ones that really has grown for me is is Derry Day, and being able to do that. I think, walking in London Derry is an amazing experience, again, purely from a historical perspective, being able to walk through the walls, and be like, knowing that you're walking somewhere that historically you have a connection to in regards to especially the siege and stuff, and knowing that you're walking through a gate or walking up a street and going, people who lived through this walked here, or lived here and died here, as a result of that. And I think that's another one that really has taken on a load of significance, for me too, and I suppose that's happened for a lot of people because obviously the Apprentice Boys membership has, grown significantly right across the country.
Yeah. 100%. That's one of those moments where you just have to kind of, when you're in a place like as historical as that, you have to kind of take that back and just you kind of be walking in between tunes when you get a wee chance to maybe take a wee thought. You're looking around and you realize that you're walking in the same footsteps that other people that walked hundreds of years ago in the same place.
Yeah.
And it's just like I said, we do it in our country just on a scale of remembrance like no other in the world. And I think that's just something about that just makes me proud to be from in the band scene in Northern Ireland.
Yeah.
I know you have it
No.
in Scotland, Liverpool, and things like that there, but there's just something of the it's hard to describe. It's just we do it on another scale, and it's just something to be proud of.
No, definitely. And I think another thing that we need to be proud. There's more than that we need to be proud of. Obviously, the amount of musicians that we produce every single year. The amount of time that's spent teaching young people how to play an instrument. Doing the remembrance thing, connecting with their history, but also the charitable side of work. That the bonds do. Bonds do a lot of stuff for charities throughout the year. And sometimes that kind of goes unnoticed. Is your bond involved in anything like that?
Well, we'll do quite a lot for other, if bonds are holding them, we would always make sure that we're working out of our way to go and support those other bonds. And if for whatever reason we can't make it to them, send the likes of like a donation or something down, things like that. But for the last couple of years there, we haven't actually been able to, with the lockdown and things like that there, we haven't actually been able to get anything organised. But what we do at the minute, we would hold fundraisers like poker nights, nights of the races, safe spaces, for different things like that. But over the last couple of years, I'll be about as far as I'll go at the minute. But I see the likes of Pride Air Raven every year. They're doing they do their parade for charity, and I think that's absolutely amazing. We'll always try our best to get down out there whenever we can. But to say the last few years with lockdown stuff, it was just a wee bit hard off the back of it. But that's what's back on our feet now. In the future, we'll definitely be getting involved in a lot more things like that.
No worries. Well, listen, I'll hold you that then for the next charity parade for the Raven. Then when we're on, we'll make sure you guys are down. But no, It's great crack. I know. And the Ravens been doing that for years upon years. They moved away from the whole idea of having a competition and moved into this charitable thing. I think at the late '90s they kind of transitioned away from it being a competition of sorts and just into more of a charity-based parade. And and I think there's always a personal connection with the charity that's chosen. Every year by the band. And I think that's a great thing. In terms of being able to further just connect with the lives of band members, and I think it's something that goes unsung. Because the band scene has its critics, and let's not be, dishonest about that. We have our critics. There are people who don't like what we do or don't like what we stand for, and things. And I think, that being able to see that the human side of what is, for us is obviously a very valid expression of culture, a very valid expression of faith for people. There's more to this that meets the eye. There's more to this than just what you see, on a parade or whatever else. There's more that goes on. And I think, the more that we're open to maybe kind of, sharing that type of stuff, then maybe that'll break down some of the barriers or maybe some of the myths and things that the people have about it. I think that's important that we do that.
Yeah, no, 100%, 100%. No, it'll always be important that you're setting up a bond, and 90% of bond are set up right in the middle of heavy bulk communities. You're getting members from that community coming in, and they're giving you your time, their dedication. It's always good to give back. I know we're not involved in any like major charities, like the Pride of Rame do their big parade and stuff. We're not at the caliber we're able to organise something on that scale. But within inside the community, if there's anything that anybody needs helped out, or things like that, or there's a big togetherness in the community. It's all tight knit and stuff like that. So very, very important to give back, especially the young kids and stuff as well. Like you were saying, like you were touching on earlier on about, there's that for bonds. There's definitely be more things out there available for the likes of young ones from communities to be able to come in. Not just learn band music, but learn about themselves too. You learn about where from it. It's definitely one thing I would like to push forward in the future. Like.
Yeah, no, definitely. Well, it's one of those things I think they definitely should be involved in and learn more about, where your history is. And there's a lot of organisations out there who are doing things that are, innovative. And it's interesting. We were talking about Ralph Cool a couple of times. There's a number of groups up there doing some amazing stuff around the heritage of the, the people who've lived in Ulster, beyond 300 odd years ago. Because there's this idea that for whatever reason, some people seem to think that, that Ulster's only been occupied by a certain group of people for 300 to 400 years. It goes way beyond that. Where you're going back thousands of years in regards to what would have been called the Britannic peoples, and who were the inhabitants of Ulster. And that goes back like 3,000 years, whatever else. And and we don't connect enough with that side of our history. We don't even know about it. Well, a lot of people don't even know about that, to be honest with you. Everything seems to start at the point for people, and it's like, oh, listen, it goes way beyond that, and I think it's important that we connect with that. So what's the band future look like? How's things looking for North Down now? Obviously out of lockdown, back to some level of normality here. What are you looking forward to in the year ahead?
Now for us going forward now, I ain't just, like I said, after our lockdown was brilliant. We got an influx of just dedicated members. After the lockdown, our band practices every week are brilliant. So for me, look, going forward, the new style of flute we're bringing in, we're trying to bring in a style of flute and drumming that's going to be our own. Revamping modern, traditional tunes. And for me going forward, that's just we haven't had that for quite a few years now because we were struggling, and being able to come off a back end with new members, new tunes. We're looking nice and smart on the road now. The discipline it's all starting to show now. And my main aim is to keep on top of it and just let that momentum keep on building and just take it as far as we can go with it. It's the first time in the band's history where we've actually been so optimistic of the future, and we're going to be able to take that next step. And for me, I just it's going to spur me to keep on going and going.
Brilliant. Happy days. Well, I hope that all works out for us, man. I always like to see bonds developing and doing well and achieving the goals that they're setting out for themselves. Maybe just in terms of maybe finishing off then, do you think, if there was one thing that you could maybe share with someone to help them understand the bond scene a wee bit better, what would you tell them?
You'll never meet friends outside of bonds like you will. You'll meet your friends in the street. You'll have everything else. You'll never meet friends and you'll have the experiences in the street that you'll have when you're out with bond members. You're out week in, week out, marching beside them, learning beside them. You're arguing beside them in the halls every week. You're laughing beside them. You're getting drunk beside them. You're falling asleep in the bond bus and getting something done on you. It's an experience. It's an experience that I don't imagine my life ever being without. Nah. So being on it so long, it's a sense of togetherness that everybody should experience one stage in their life. Culturally, community wise, everything. It's an experience not to be missed, really. You'll have some times along the way. You'll learn a lot too.
Brilliant. Listen, I want to say thanks very much for taking the time out to come on and share your story with us. It's always great to hear other people's perspectives and get an idea and an insight into what motivates people to be involved in bonds. It's obvious you have a passion for your bond and the things that you are doing and stuff, man. So I really appreciate you taking the time out to talk to us on the podcast, man. Thanks.
Yes, and thank you very much, man, for having me on. It's when I first seen the podcast, it was definitely something that I wanted to be a part of, because they said it's definitely unique, and I don't know how anybody never done it before. So it's such a good idea to do. Yeah, looking forward to seeing what comes in the future, England.
Yeah, no, well, stay tuned in terms of when we come to the end of the season. There will be a couple of big announcements coming in regards to some of the stuff that we're doing, or at least we're planning on doing anyway. And I'm excited by them, and anybody who we've shared with them about so far seems to think that we might be heading in the right direction with some of that stuff. So it'll be good stuff. You know what I mean? Yeah. So listen, I'm just going to do a wee outro. So hang around. And I'll bring you back in again once I've done my wee outro here and stuff as well. All right, man?
No problem.
Alrighty, folks, so there you go. That's the end of another episode, another bond story shared with us. And you can just tell from listening to Nathan, just the passion that he has, not just for his own bond, but for bonds in general. And I think that's one of the things that's been really highlighted, so well over the podcast over the last couple of years, is just how passionate bond members are about what it is that they do, and what motivates them to stay involved. So this is obviously episode 9. We've got episode 10 coming up, and we will have the Airdrie Grenadiers on for that. And then I'm hoping to have, for episode 11, I'm hoping to have potentially somebody from the Whiterock on and somebody from Greengairs on, talking about their new CDs. And always good to hear new music coming out from the bonds. And if you know what you're going to get with Whiterock, and Whiterock CD is classic Whiterock. So, and we're going to have some tracks and stuff from that as well. And then the new Greengairs CD is going to be available from this Saturday as well, which is Strength Through Adversity, the Road Less Traveled. I've heard maybe about 14, 15 tracks from this, and it's top class. So make sure you get a hold of a copy whenever that's ready, and then obviously check out the podcast that I'll do with Thomas, and hopefully with Spawn from the Greengairs as well. So until the next episode, folks, look after yourselves and take it easy.